Okay, Josh, this setup right here, D80 51.8, it's exactly what you have. I'm sure you know by now, this switch right here is what turns it on, and this dial over here is how you change your settings. We'll cover settings in a minute. For now, to get you so that you can just take pictures, if you just turn the camera on and put it in auto, as you've seen, if the picture's dark, it pops up the flash. That's because it's doing everything for you. Everything. Focus, it's finding what it thinks you want, everything. I don't use that because that's for people that don't know what they're doing. So it's perfect for you. Now, what I do use is the letter P. It's just above auto. I don't know if it'll focus on that or not. Doesn't look like it. It's just above auto. It's the letter P. It stands for program. That will allow you to, the camera will do most of the things for you, but you still have some control, such as if it's dark, the flash doesn't pop up. You have to push the flash button. Other than that, when you look through your viewfinder, there's actually a little rectangle in there. You'll see it focus for you. That little rectangle, depending on what your settings are on, is where it will focus. Simple basics to get you started. Point the rectangle what you want to take a picture of, take a picture of them. Now, since it was my camera, some of the settings that are in there are set for me and maybe not default settings. So I'm going to go over with you how to reset the camera to factory settings. All right, we're going to cover two kinds of resets. The first one is what they call a soft reset. If you look, you have your shutter button is here. Just behind that is a button that says plus minus. It has a little green dot next to it. If you look 2 buttons down, you have an AF button. It has a green dot next to it. If you hold both of those, I'm not going to do it, but if you hold both of those, it should reset the soft settings, like any settings you would change on a daily basis, like your ISO or your shutter speed or your white balance, all that, back to default. The other thing you'll have to do is a hard reset. I recommend you do the hard reset today, so we'll get you all back to factory and you can get rid of all my settings that are on there. That is done on the other side of the camera. You have the little rubber door. It's got the plugs inside of it. If you open that, you'll see 3 little plugs. The top one is a mini USB. Just below that, you'll see a tiny little button. Probably push it with like a paper clip or something. Push that. I don't know what it does. I've never done it, but that, I shouldn't say. I don't know how it works, but that is supposed to reset your camera to the factory, like it's brand new, like you just got it. I should have done that before I sent it to you, but I didn't. So do that, and then we'll cover the next thing. Alright, real quick, we're going to cover some basic settings, things that you can adjust and change on every picture, things that you need to know before you start going out and taking headshots. Not necessarily for just going out and snapping pictures, but important things nonetheless. So you get your camera in P mode. Some of the things you'll notice is your AF button. When you press your AF button on your little viewfinder on the top, up here, towards your eyeball, towards the back, you'll see where it says there's 3 options: AFA, AFS, AFC. That is the type of focus that it will do. AFA is autofocus, auto. It'll take your settings over here and adjust them accordingly. So if you put it on sports mode, it'll be continuous. If you're taking portraits, it'll be servo. I think what S meant. Servo means you point it at something, you press the button down halfway, and it'll lock focus right there. You can, as long as you keep the button halfway pressed down, the focus will not change. You can move the camera around. You can point it at a person and then move it so that they're not right in the middle, or you can find something that you want in focus but not necessarily right in the middle of the picture. Get your focus, move the camera, take your picture, keeping the button pressed halfway down. Continuous is just how it sounds, continuous. If you point the camera at a person and they're running and they're running towards you or away or moving all over the place, as long as they're in that focus point, that is what the camera will keep trying to focus on. It will not lock, it will keep moving. So if you have it in continuous and you point it at something and then move the camera, the focus will change. So, and then AF auto, AFA, will take into account your settings over here. So those are all things to keep in mind. Another thing that'll change on a regular basis, on the back you'll see in gray written above, it says WB. It's white balance. If you're shooting in JPEG, which you probably will for a while, white balance is what kind of light is coming into the camera. Most of the time the camera does a pretty good job, if you leave your white balance in auto, at figuring it out. But if you know that you're going to be shooting in sunlight, or you're going to be shooting with just flash because it's really dark, or if you're like me right now, you're underneath fluorescent lighting, all those lights to a camera appear different. Fluorescent lighting is kind of green, sunlight is a nice yellow-orange, shade is a little more bluish. All those settings, if you hold down white balance and you scroll this wheel on the back of it, you'll see where it changes at the bottom. Your settings are auto, incandescent lighting, like regular old-fashioned light bulbs, fluorescent lighting, sunlight, flash, cloudy, shade, and then K. Don't worry about K right now, or pre, which is the very last one. If you keep scrolling, it goes back to A. I recommend for now leaving it on A, but just so you know it's there. The next one is ISO. ISO is the sensitivity of the sensor. The more sensitive it is, the higher the number, the less light that is needed to make a picture. However, the higher that number, the more grainy or noisy the picture appears. So if you take a picture at 1600 ISO, it's not going to have the quality that a picture taken at 100 ISO will have. So we'll get into more detail on that, just so you know it's there. If it's, you know, a little more cloudy than you like, or a little more shade, and you're out taking pictures, you can turn your ISO up. On a D80, I don't recommend going above 1600 if you're just taking pictures, or 800 if you're taking portraits. And even if it's a portrait setting, you can probably go as low as 400, or only go as high as 400, because you want that quality to be there. The last one is, since we're talking about it, quality, written in gray. If you hold that down, changes how you can take pictures. You got two different options there. You have the quality of the picture, which is fine, normal, basic, and then raw. And then while you're taking raw, you have the ability to take both raw and JPEG. And then if you're in fine, normal, or basic, you have L, M, and S. Those numbers, the LMS are changed with the front roller, this one, and the fine, medium, fine, normal, and basic, and raw are changed with this back one, this one right here. For you, I would recommend for now, fine, L. That is the best JPEG picture you can take. Letting go of that button gets you ready to take pictures again. We'll cover more in a minute. A couple more things we're going to cover real quick. You'll notice by your shutter button, there's a little button that almost looks like a window with a dot in the middle. That is your exposure. How does the camera look at the scene and decide how much light is in it? If you hold that down and you rotate your rear dial again, you'll see if you have all four little window pieces and the center dot, that's going to take the entire scene, everything that it sees. So if you got sunlight in it and a person in shadow, it's going to try and do the best it can. Do the best it can to get all of that into right exposure. It may not be able to, but it's going to try. Now, if you rotate that one time to the right, you get just the dot. That is center exposed. So where your focus point is, that's what it's going to look at and say, okay, that's what we want in correct light to look right. Everything else doesn't matter. So if you know your person is got light on the back of them and they're kind of in shadow, you point it right at their nose, get it to focus, or right at their eye, and take that picture, it's going to do a better job at the background. Will probably be really, really bright, but the person will at least look right. Versus if you did the whole scene, it would probably make them look a little dark. The next option is what's called center weighted. it takes the center, but it's got the little brackets around it. It's going to take a larger area, so it might take a whole person instead of just their face. And then you're back to the window. Another button that may be pertinent to you every day is the 4 little rectangles on top of each other. That is how the camera takes the picture. Let me clarify. How fast it'll take pictures. So if you're on S, that's single picture. Doesn't matter how long you hold the button down, it's just taking one picture. Press it again. That's as fast as the camera can take pictures. Click, 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 click. Press it again. That's timer mode. You got your camera on a tripod and you want to get in the picture too. Put it on timer mode. Then there is timer mode with a remote. If you buy the remote to this, I sent you the remote. If you use the remote with this, you can be in the picture, but you don't want to be holding the remote up right when the picture takes. Set it in timer mode, be already posed, press the button, put it in your pocket or whatever, remote in your pocket or whatever, you're good to go. And then last is just remote. So if you don't want to be holding the camera, it's on a tripod, but you don't want to be pushing the actual button, you can push it with the remote. It's got to be in that mode though. That should get you started. If you can't figure out some other stuff from there, push buttons, play around, watch some videos on YouTube.